Okay, this video I'll be showing you how to mod your 555 like this one into a modded 555 like this one. If you can see all these holes on the side, and yeah, there's a lot to be done on your 555 to make it look like this and work like my ultimate super good 555. And the material you would need are a knife like this one. Be careful with one of these. Dremel. If you don't have a Dremel, you can use one of these nail file. Nail file will work, but it would take longer with the nail file than if you were to use a Dremel. Now this Dremel is the Dremel 7700 series brand. Not brand, but series. And then you'll need a screwdriver and also some lube. And here's some lube. It's a mixture of Team Factory 3000 and CRC. And also, you'll need a saw. If you don't have a saw, then, well, you can use a saw, but if you have one of the cutting blades for the Dremel, you can use it. If you don't have a Dremel or one of these cutting blades, then the saw will come in handy. And also you'll need a bucket to put all these parts in. But first of all, you have to take off one of these caps. Sometimes it's really hard to take them off. You may need to use a knife to take it off. But be careful not to scratch the stickers when taking this off. And there you go. I just took it off. And what you'll do is unscrew the screw all the way. All the way unscrew it. This may be a tricky process because the screw on mine is very tight, and this is a brand new cube, and yeah. Using a different screwdriver. Make sure you have one that will work easily and that's not too big for the screw. Make sure you have this over the bucket just so that the bucket can catch the part. Make sure that you don't lose any of the parts. And also not lose the screw or any of the parts of it. Make sure when you're disassembling this and you're taking off all these centers with the screws and washers and stuff, make sure that you keep them in a separate pile so that you'll know which ones that you need to deal with once you actually finish with the lubing the core and modding the center pieces. But I highly recommend when you're doing this, make sure that you have another cube nearby, so that when you're putting together the screw, the core part with the center, after you taken off all the center cap and all that, and make sure that you have an extra cube nearby with a good color scheme that's similar to the one that on your 5x5, so that you know which center is which. I just finished assembling the core. I also forgot to mention that you're gonna need one of these towels or rag, especially to clean off the pieces. If your cube is one fresh brand new cube that you just recently got and you just want to mod it and you just got it, there should be factory lube on the pieces. You want to wipe those pieces off, the lube off. And also the towel rag will help get off the plastic that still is on there after you mod it. So the first thing is I'll start off with the centerpiece. Basically what you're gonna do with the centerpiece is round these corners part off, like round them off, so that it's more of a circular, sort of rounded, like the inner ring up here in the centerpiece is like so, instead of it having the sharp points hanging out. You'll take your Dremel and then round them off. If you have a nail file, use that, and I'll show you when I do it. And be careful when you're doing this not to round off too much. And with that, you're done with there. And also with the nail file, you're gonna need the nail file to round it off some, so it's more smoother instead of like a rough cut. So, yeah. So, I finished that part. Yeah, you see me doing that. And now, doing this part for the center with the file after you dremeled it, not that super necessary, but it's necessary to make it more of a smoother, finer finish than what you would do after you Dremel. And then after that, once you're finished with the centerpiece, you're going to need to screw it back in. But before you screw it back in, you'll need to take the loop. There should be a bottom inner ring down there that you need to loop. A bottom inner ring that you need to put lube on. You'll need a little tiny bit of lube, but not that much. And also, lube the bottom of this part. Take your screw and lube down over here where the washer is, and also up at the top of the head, and then put some little tiny bit of lube on the spring, and that's it for the lubing of the core. You don't really need that much. And then take this, put it back in, like so, and then screw it back in. Now do that for the rest of the 6 center pieces, and then you're good. When you screw it back in, make sure you try to have even tension on the center pieces. Yeah, when you put those pieces back in. But you can always adjust your tension once you finish modding it and assembling it. Yeah. What I recommend doing is really screwing this in pretty tightly, so when you're assembling this puzzle, it's not like a super pain to assemble. Yeah. And then on to the next piece to mod. I'll be going over each piece that needs to be modded, and the parts of the mods that you'll need to do. For this mod, for the corner, we'll be rounding off this part, sanding down this part of the stock, and then rounding off these bumps, and then cutting off the base right here. And for the corner, I first would recommend you taking your knife, like going like this, taking it, and then going like this down on the part. And then, once you're done with that part, then you can, if you feel like using the knife and just scraping off the stem part around like this, like what I'm doing. Or you can use your Dremel and then sort of do some sanding on it. But don't sand down too much of the stem. Then that will make it weaker. So it's just sort of sanded the stem down some. Sort of like this. See the bumpiness on it? And I would take the file and then round those parts. Round the stem part off, round, like so, to give it a more smoother finish. Basically, what you want it to be extremely smooth, after you, if you take your Dremel and then do the Dremel part, that'll make the most part, that'll help speed up the process of doing most of it in a short amount of time. But after you've taken the Dremel and doing the Dremel part, you'll need to take your file and then smoothen out those sanded parts with Dremel to make it even more smoother. You want it to be smooth as possible and make it pretty decently rounded smoothing on most of these parts that I'm using Dremel for. So you will need to do rounding with this file for quite a bit of time. That part will take a while. And you'll all have to always need to get off all that. So this next part will be taking these bumps and sanding them down. And yeah. And you'll probably need the file to smoothen it out. So, but it's nothing that super major. And sometimes the file will get very powdery because plastic will be on it, and you will need to rub it against the cloth a couple times to get off all the plastic dust off of it. Yeah. And this next part is where you're rounding these parts down for the flooring part of the mod of the corner. So basically, how I'm doing it. Sorry about that. So how I'm doing it is like I'm doing it like this. So that's how it's done for that part. So yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you have to be careful of the stickers. Sometimes if you go down a little deep enough, you'll catch on the stickers. They'll sort of destroy it a little, but nothing that major. As long as you know where to stop. For the for the super best result, I recommend after you do this, take the file, completely smoothen this part rounded out like this so that it's really smooth, like the smoothest that it can get. Make sure that when you're doing it, you go down over here and around like this, so that it's not like a big bump, then curves down like that, because really smoothly curves around like this. But I'll finish that part later. And this next part of the modding of the corner is the part where you would need these that cutting bit or the saw. If you're using Dremel, change out to the cutting bit, and if you have the cutting bit and using Dremel, switch it out. It'll make it a lot easier. If you do not have a Dremel cutting bit, then saw will work better. So basically, if you use saw, I recommend using like a clamp or something to clamp on the piece so you don't cut yourself. basically what you're doing is cutting off this, the base thingy and making it a lot shallower. So, yeah. And also, be aware of, hot plastic that will get on you. Because you're doing this and it will melt some of the plastic and it will get on you and that will probably burn you. So basically you cut it down to about this, and basically if you cut it down first, it will make it a lot easier when you actually sand it down with the sanding bit. Or if you don't have the sanding bit, or you're not using a Dremel, you can use a knife, scrape it all the way down. So basically you, like, making this just so that it's just this, shallow curve thing. Yeah, I just got some hot plastic and plastic melted, and that is one reason why you should avoid the hot plastic. So yeah, you are making it into like this sort of shape. Yeah. Alright, the next piece would be, this piece. This edge type piece. And there's a part that's very similar to this quarter part, where you're cutting it the bottom down, this part off. I'll do it first, but that part can be done last if you feel like it. I'll be using the cutting bit again, but if you don't have the cutting bit, you can use saw, and yeah. But so basically you're taking it, cutting this part off. I don't know what just went wrong. So I cut it off, and I have to do the sanding to make it even more finer. And so basically I go like this. So basically you're following this curve that's on this edge and making it so that it's flat, barely anything sticking out from this curve. So basically you want it to be in this shape. And always take this cloth towel and take off all the extra hard plastic stuff that's on the outside. The rough plastic that's hanging off. And then this next part will require more sanding, and yeah. You'll need the Dremel for most of it. And so basically what you're doing is rounding off this part up here. Yeah. If you round off this part down here, like around there, it's sort of like the constant mod of the 4-cell 4x4. So, if you can tell, from right over here, round it off, and this is more pointed off. You want it to be rounded off. But not completely super duper rounded off, but just round off some. So yeah. And this next part is a little trickier. If you do it exactly right, you'll not mess the entire puzzle piece up. Which is rounding off around there. Like this. So basically you're doing that. Rounding that off. Just be careful not to make it so that plastic burns and get black charred plastic. And after you've done that part, you'll need to round it off with this file, like always. And make sure you do that for the rest of the 4 parts. Well, the rest of the 3 parts of it. And then this next piece would be this. Sorry about that. Would be the wing edge. The edge piece that is in between this piece and the corner piece, which is this one. You'll be needing the Dremel and a knife for this piece. You'll take your piece and sort of like scrape down in there, like around there, going down some. Scrape some down there and going around down like this. And then go down over across here. Careful not to cut yourself. And then go down over here. Down over here. Around over here. Yeah, so basically you're scraping it out some. So it's, I don't know really why I do this, but I just do it. And then take your sanding thingy, Dremel file thing, and this part that I'm first showing you is the official part of the flooring mod, where round these parts down. You would go around like this. You've done that side and you have to do this side. And also, it would help if you could go over like this. And also, try to avoid getting the Dremel sanding your skin down. It will hurt. But if it sands your nail down, then nothing that bad. It will just regrow. And then, done with that part, now you have to smoothen it out. But flip it over and round this part around Again, you're going to need to use the file to smoothen it out. The best thing is when you're using the file after you use Dremel is completely make sure that it's extremely smooth. It will make a big difference. So you're done with this piece. Now we're working on to the next piece. Next piece would be this piece. This center edge piece. You'll need a knife for this one also, and also the sanding thing. But this part is the thing is very tricky. Make sure you do it extremely careful. Like you take, if you notice, there's these flat, you want to sort of cut them off. You can just go scrape down like that, but with that you're pushing a lot of force on it. So I really like to do is just sort of scrape it off, like so. Just to make it a lot easier. Not actually cut myself like I've done before. So, you want the flap to be completely off on both sides. So, you have the flap off. And, yeah. So, you want to take your Dremel and, well, actually before you take the Dremel, you'll also need the knife again to sort of like what you did with the edge and sort of scrape down in there. Not like you do around there and just around this part, around where I'm doing. Yeah. And then you, once you're done with that, you'll take your Dremel and start sanding out pieces. This part will have multiple parts where you need to round off. You'll need to round off, round over here, round over here, 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 up here, 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 and all those places. If you round off this part, like around there, it's like, again, part of the constant mod. That's for the 6L 4x4. So, yeah, it should be rounded out, that part. And then take a Dremel and round off that part. So you want to round these parts up here and then round off up here and then up here. So basically you want this part up here rounded off. So you'll need to take off the plastic and that's hanging off and stuff like that. And then now this next part up here, which is rounding off over here. So yeah, you'll have it all rounded out, top like this. And then the next part just rounding off around here. So yeah. So your piece should look like this. This is roughly done, and you have to smoothen all those sanded pieces, sanded parts out with file. And then finally the last piece. Last piece is semi-tricky and not at the same time. You can need knife again for it, where you're gonna do sort of the same thing, scraping off the inside as thingy part, sort of like this, scraping it off down in there, like so, scraping down there, then scraping some down there, and down around here, like around down there, and then some down here, and then some over here, like around over here, down there. Basically it's scraping off down there, and then over here some. And then over again, going around the way I already did. Just make sure you get around to it, all parts of it. And then, yeah, you just scrape all the way around, like that. And then take your Dremel. This part is the much trickier part not. So, you would take it, your edge, this center corner piece, hold it like this, take your Dremel, and then you're basically going to round this down off, so it's like the floor mod part of this corner, and yeah. You might need to hold it in different positions to make it more comfortable for you, depending on how you're doing. If you sand it down and it somewhat looks like this, where there's like a hole gapping through down here, don't worry. That's sort of semi-normal, because that means you did a good job. But I recommend not sanding down this part where that corner was too deeply, because that'll make it even weaker in the corner. This part will break easily, and it'll make it just weaker. So this next part is for where you need to round this part right here. Just so you round it off like that. Then over here, do this. So basically you're rounding off this point up here. Yeah, and then finally you round it off this part. And then you'll sort of need to do the same thing down over here. But for this bottom part, you need to round off these 3 corner parts. But don't do it too much, because then that will make the piece unusable. Just you need to do is just a little bit. And yeah. So that's how to mod your Singshop 505. If you do all the steps that I do, and rounding off all these rough edges and stuff, and putting it back together, and all that, it'll probably take you 2 or 3 hours. Because of the amount of pieces that you need to go and mod, and just the amount of stuff you need. Probably take maybe an hour at most, but you might need to take a couple days, or take breaks in between, especially if you have a Dremel with a battery, detachable battery, because one, I've noticed on mods, this Dremel gets really hot after a while, and sometimes battery needs to be recharged, so I take breaks to recharge the battery and also let this cool down. So yeah, and next part you'll be seeing me assembling how to assemble it, but I'm not gonna be assembling it with the one that I showed you how to mod. I'll be using my pre-modded one, because it's already modded and it has everything done to it, and so it'll be showing you exactly the steps. I only modded those parts in this video just to show you what you'll be doing to each piece to make it easier for you. Okay, so sorry about that. So this is the pre-modded, my main pre-modded 505, Singshop 505, and you may notice it's not, doesn't have the same colors as yours, because this one I changed stickers on. And so since I have modded this in the mod video that I showed you, these corners and edges, or like been cut it down, the base part of this, cut it down, it makes it hollow on the inside, and that gives you less grip, so to say. So you'll need to make sure that it's a lot stable inside. And also you can assemble it where all the pieces are in the correct spot, and so it's like solved when you scramble it. Or you can like assemble it where all the pieces are random, but if you do that, you'll have to make sure that these center edges and then these corners are all exactly on the correct spot, so to make it more to make it easier to solve. That's how I would do it. So you would take it like this, take an edge, corner piece, edge pieces like this, and find where this middle edge goes into place, and make sure you get it into the correct spot. Follow the lead. So now you have it like this. Make sure you be careful and assemble it when putting it down, or like that. Make sure you know what's the down color and what color is which, because like let's say I got the right piece that needs to be put in, but I accidentally put it in, like let's say here, and it's flipped incorrectly, and I realized that I put it in incorrectly, and I noticed that when like almost halfway done assembling these puzzles, that will become a tricky thing. Make sure you have these parts assembled correctly, correct color, in the correct spot. So, yeah. Just follow my lead of assembling it. Just watch how I'm assembling it, and it will be assembled the way you're doing it. Now find the color that will work. The corner that will work in there. Take these pieces, put it in like this. Take an edge piece, put it in. Put it in, corner. Make sure it's the correct corner. Put it in. Put it in. And then, basically, yeah. It's sort of like this. Once you get this, once you get this corner section done, you get sort of the hang of it, and it works like that for all the other 7 corner sections. And yeah, it's sort of like a semi continuing process where it's like over and over, repetitive process over and over. Make sure that when you're rotating the cube around, the semi-assembled cube, that you don't shift pieces around so that you'll lose pieces and have to restart. And you don't want to have to restart the assembly process. Make sure your core is perfectly clean, no hair on it whatsoever. And so, yeah. If you have your pieces sorted in, like, if you have your pieces sorted out, like where each piece is sorted by type, that makes it easier. But if you have it in a bucket where they're all random, then that will become trickier. But I recommend you take only middle edges and the corners out, so that makes it easier for you to assemble, like all these middle edges and all these corners out of the bucket, so it makes it easier for you to know which piece is which when finding them. And then, once you get to the final last corner section, I'll show you what you will need to do, because you'll need to loop your cube. Not just only the screws of the cube, but actually the outer edge, the edge pieces and stuff like that. If you loop your cube just only the screws, then that's alright. But if you loop a lot of the other parts of the cube, then that would help also. Yeah. So you're continuing assembling this. Yeah. Now, keep in mind, if you're planning on modding your Chainsaw 5x5, it's not going to be just like a quick, easy process. It's going to be like part of your day. Make sure that when you mod it, you'll have like a full day, like a day when you have no other work that you plan on doing that day, that's gonna interfere with it. Because, like, well, you can have other work to do, but I recommend not. Just try to do it on a free day when you have nothing else to do. But make sure you take breaks in between. So once you've gotten this far, yeah, you need to be careful not to make any of the other layers rotate and it will be disassembled even more. So you rotate it on the side like this, and then continue the same process that you were doing earlier when assembling those first 3 layers. And yeah, and just continue on like that. Rotate your puzzle like that, so that you have that open spot in there. Rotate again, so that you have this open corner spot. And yeah, now that you have very little pieces left, you can just dump it out on the table and not have to worry about losing any. And yeah, make sure you don't really lose that much of the corner or any of the pieces in general. Okay, once you're down to the last corner section, like I am, basically, there's sort of a trick that I learned on how to assemble it. Now, if you have a cube stand in hand, but I don't have one with me at the moment, but if you do, you can set the cube on the stand and then put this corner in. You have to put the corner in first, but if you don't, then it will work either way. But you have to put the corner in first and make sure it's in the correct position. Put in an edge like so. And then put in all these edges first, and then put in the center corners last. Yeah. Do what? Oh man, I sort of did this where I put this piece in the wrong spot with this one, but you'll get the idea. I assembled it. I have to reassemble that. And yeah, basically, you should have it assembled in a configuration like this, where all the edges in these corners should be solved, while all the other pieces are not solved. And after that, you can continue working on solving this puzzle, and there you go on an awesome epic 5x5. After this, you may want to get new stickers. I highly recommend ISO stickers. They're really good and they're cheap. Not that super cheap, but they're cheap and they're decent and really good. Yeah.